welcome to another episode of the Sports Lodge. I'm your host, John Lodge, joined as always by my good buddy and co-host, Mike Jones. And Mike, it was an exciting night last night as a Leaf fan. I came by and had a couple pops and got to watch the game, and what a game it was. We'll get into all that a little bit later, but what's going on in your world right now? You got a little bit of news for us.
Yeah, no, tonight the AHL starts. I've obviously changed my headwear for tonight, to the Rochester Americans. I'll be watching them after I'm done, filming here. But yeah, no, I would like to send out a huge congratulations to my cousin Dalton Smith on being named assistant captain, his fourth year now with the team. And it's really cool to see all of his hard work and, pay off in getting that honor. So congratulations to my cousin there.
Congratulations, Dalton, for sure. Friend of the show. He's a tough nose to the grindstone, gritty player, and just a throwback style of guy, right? So that's the kind of guy you really want in your leadership group. Someone who can stand up for the young bucks and keep them protected, right?
Yep. Oh yeah, no, gotta love him. He's blood.
So we do have breaking news before the show before we decided to sit down and record this episode. Everyone in major leagues has been waiting with bated breath as to where Trevor Bauer would land. Well, Trevor Bauer has landed, and he's landed in Hollywood. He's going to play for the Los Angeles Dodgers, and that rotation just gets deadlier and deadlier and deadlier. You now have Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw, Trevor Bauer, Juan Urias, and David Price, along with Dustin May, who is a young and upcoming starter who could easily be in your top five, be in the top five of any other major league pitching rotation. But getting back to Bauer, 3 years, $103 million, I believe. The first year paying him $40 million, the second year paying him 45, and the third somewhere a little bit under 20 million, but each year coming with an opt-out. So this man can make 40 sheets and opt out. He can make 85 sheets and opt out. But it's for sure, in at least this guy's mind, that he's opting out after year 2 max. There's no way he's playing that year 3 for under $20 million.
Yeah, no, but it's a nice little cushion of security for whatever happens in those first 2 years. But no, he's not going to touch it. Even if he wants to resign with the team, he's gonna opt out and resign long term, like you were saying earlier. And yeah, no, it's a pretty good safe contract, especially if he's not ready to just commit full time to a team yet.
Yeah, 3 years. He was talking about willing to sign a short term deal. A lot of these major league pitchers, they want security, like you said. They want the 7-year contract because they want to know that if they blow their arm out, that money's still there for after they rehab, which will take a year, and then ramping back up, which might take another half year after that. And then you might not be ever back to your normal self. So you always want that security in case something bad happens. But Trevor Bauer opting for the money and not the security. He is now the highest paid starting pitcher in the major leagues at $40 million, eclipsing Garrett Cole's $36 million with the Yankees. But like I said, the only difference is Garrett Cole got that 36 million over 7 years, I believe, or more, and Trevor Bauer gets the 40 and 45 over 3 years. So it's going to be interesting to see. The opt out is definitely something that's going to come into play, and it's curious. You said he could opt out to re-sign. And we've seen that before with teams. We've seen that with LeBron James. We've seen it with Anthony Davis this past year with the Lakers opting out and re-signing a longer-term deal. You're not wrong at all. If Trevor Bauer ends up playing this first year with the Los Angeles Dodgers and likes it a lot, he likes being home, he likes playing for the team, they're very competitive all the time, they're always World Series contenders. Maybe he's like, okay, well, let's opt out and let's get this 6-year, 7-year deal done. Maybe at a little bit less than 40 million per, because I don't think you're going to get that over that amount of time, unless you say he goes out and he wins the Cy Young Award again. And if he goes out and does that 2 years in a row, then you write your own check.
Yeah, and also like, they can repeat as World Series champions or at least make it there. There's a lot of things he can do in these next 2 years that could really bring in a major payday afterwards. So it's awesome that he's got that option of, hey, if I'm on top of my game, I'm not finishing that contract no matter where he wants to go.
Yeah, it's a hitman style of mentality, right? I'm just going to take that money and I'll take my talents wherever anybody's willing to put the dollar bills down. All right. Well, moving on, we got to get into what happened last night in the Maple Leafs game. This is the Sports Lodge, and on the Sports Lodge, we are a Maple Leaf centric show. We are a Toronto based podcast, and we play to our listener base. Right. Maple Leafs put on quite the show last night, winning 7-3 against the Vancouver Canucks, and it was highlighted by a flashback like performance from a man who didn't play in the first game of his career with the Toronto Maple Leafs because the coach decided that he didn't owe him anything and he wasn't going to start him. The man I'm talking about is Jason Spezza with the hat trick last night, Mike. I mean, talk about a flashback, talk about his nickname being vintage. But man, all three goals were a beaut and all were done differently with a different skill set.
Yeah, I know it was a fun hat trick to watch. Just the excitement of watching him just go out there and tear it up. Like you were saying all night when we were watching the game, it's vintage to 2007 Spezza, and back when he was on top of his game. And I honestly think he must have felt good. That was a big up yours to Babs, and he was well deserved though. Lots of hard work. He's been having a great year so far, like I've said before. So he deserves it. He deserved that night.
There were sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Oh, okay, so there were three different types of goals last night from Spezza. The first one, the clap shot from the top of the circle on the power play. The second one on a glorious sauce pass by Nick Patan. And side note, Nick Patan, you deserve all of the good vibes you're feeling today after making that pass, after doing what you did there for Jason Spezza. That sauce was a foot off the ice, bare
He
minimum, maybe
overall had
two.
a great game. He
And
overall had a great game.
yeah, he took advantage of his opportunities, right? And he showed that he still has what it takes to play in this league. He still has that grit and that style. Even though he's a smaller guy, he can still get it done in the NHL. So yeah, side note on Nick Patan's pass, I'm seeing you there, man. That was something else. But yeah, the goal bar down on that one by Spezza. But I think the best one, and
Mhm.
this is no competition of all three, that dangle show he put on in the third period where he danced the defender and then danced Demko and got to the far post before Demko could with his foot and just tucked it around. You want to talk about vintage? Like I used to see Jason Spezza do that to the Maple Leafs.
Yep.
So yeah, it was nice to see him do it in the blue and white.
Yeah, I know. It was a great move, and it's awesome to see that he's still able to do it. And he takes advantage of that long stick and that long reach he has. And it looks nice when he can pull it off.
So speaking of Maple Leafs that have looked good, how about TJ Brody? TJ Brody, to me, he got a little bit of heat to start the year because he didn't look like he was quite fitting in. But ever since, and the Leafs have been on a hot streak, and you can talk about their opponents and maybe how they've been able to outskill their opponents more. But TJ Brody seems to me to make the right pass at the right time, and his first pass exit out of the D zone is 85 to 90% of the time right on the tape. This guy is automatic. It's like he's got a computer in his brain and he's calculating the trajectory and the geometry he needs to put that puck right on the tape. And it doesn't matter if it's forehand or backhand. He always gets the puck to his intended receiver.
Yeah, no, he's been exactly what we needed for all these years as a defenseman, and it's awesome because finally have a guy that's able to like play with Riley and be there defensively, like defensively responsible when he likes to take a rush with the puck or gets involved with the offensive side of the game. So no, he's been awesome. I've been nothing but impressed with him. Like you said, a little bit of a rocky start, but he got used to the team, and he seems settled in now, and he's just doing amazing. He's being a very, very solid on the back end, but able to make that amazing first pass and get the play going and quarterbacking it.
So you want to talk about amazing. What's amazing to me is that this wasn't a storyline leading into the game and how we hadn't talked about this. I guess it goes to speak towards how he's growing as a player, and it's just mundane that he's getting them. Austin Matthews scored for his sixth game in a row last night. 6 games in a row with a goal. There are years that would have been a story. That would have been, oh my goodness, how long is this goal streak going to go? But now it's almost like we expect it out of him. He goes out there and he gets his goals, and on nights that he doesn't get them, that's the storyline, right? He's become that good of a player. Is the point I'm trying to make, that he can be on a 6 game goal streak and no one's talking about it.
Well, yeah, like this time of the year is usually when he is like on fire. He usually comes right out of the gate scoring goals consistently. Have you ever noticed that over the last couple of years? But he's just on fire, and it's what you would expect for him, like you said, and it's just, that's just the normal. He's the first overall pick. He's got that's what you would want from a first overall pick, and he's really grown into what his potential is. And he's just overall this last year, uh during the off season, and he all the training he put in, the way he lost everything, it's really showing in his game, and his defensive game is even getting a lot better too. So I'm not surprised that he's on a streak like this. He's honestly been on fire all year long.
Let's be honest. We know what it is. It's the mustache. That's what's causing this whole thing. We discussed it. It's the mustache, okay? Ever since he had that mustache, he has been phenomenal. So he has been on fire. He has been unstoppable, untouchable, and you better keep that muzzy, man. That muzzy has to stay. That thing is glued, super glued to his face. I don't care what you want to say about how it looks, how it makes him look. That muzzy,
The
that's the
players,
muzzy of
the
power. That is
players
the
just
hair of
probably just want to
Samson
get away
growing on
from
his
it.
face.
The other players just probably wanted to get away from it. The way he looks at it, he's gonna fucking shove him into the back of a white van and try and take him away.
Yep. Put him in an old style fedora trench coat and sunglasses, and you don't want to even talk to that guy. But lo and behold, underneath that trench coat is maybe a 50 goal scorer in a 58 game season. Do you think that we're going to see one of those this year? A 56 game season that will possibly get a 50 goal scorer, and could Matthews be the one to do it?
If somebody can do it, I think it would be Matthews, but that's quite something to ask for. It would be amazing to see though. But yeah, if anybody could do it, it'd be Matthews. He's
Matthews,
been so
McDavid, one of
close.
those guys, right?
He needs to get his 50 year. He's been so close.
It'll be quite the feat to go off. I mean, like there's only one man in history who got 50 and 50, right? And that's Wayne Gretzky. And um, say what you want about how great he is. He was great. Goaltending, maybe not so much. There's a big difference in today's goaltending as it was to the early 2000s and even to the 90s and to the 80s and continue on to the 70s, keep going back. The goaltending has only gotten more difficult as the years gone on. So it is no surprise to me that goal totals come down a little bit over the years. I'd love to see it. I don't know how many he'll end up with, but I will take every single one of them, and then hopefully we get more in the playoffs. Speaking of getting more out of Mitch Marner, getting more out of William Nylander, those contracts, they're really seeming to be worth it right now. Mitch Marner with the 3-point night, William Nylander with 3 assists. This core of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I'm leaving John Tavares out of it right now. I know that John Tavares is a big part of the team as well, but just talking about the young core of this team that has been drafted and developed, they're really, really starting to turn it around and play some decent hockey, and look like a team that could possibly pull something off in the playoffs.
If they keep it up, yeah, no, their maturity is after being in the league for so many years now, is really starting to show. They're clicking together, and most line combinations are all just clicking together, and everybody understands their role on the team, which is really awesome. Mitch Marner is still obviously on a tear pace. William,
It's been a
he's
little
had
bit cold. He hasn't scored since
yeah
the
he's
first game, but
he's
he's the 3 assists is a big night for him, right? So maybe I
yeah.
can get him going.
Yeah, and obviously Austin's doing amazing. I'm really impressed with Travis Boyd. How many games is he at now? Like he's been productive basically since he got here.
Well, the third line has been a little bit of an eyesore with
Three
Alex
points,
Kerfoot.
4 points in 3 games.
But the fourth line has really has picked it up for the Maple Leafs a lot. There's questions of whether you take Jason Spezza now and put him as your third line center because of the way he's playing, and that pushes Alex Kerfoot to the wing. Uh, what doesn't seem to matter is no matter where Alex Kerfoot plays, the referees have eagle eyes on him. And the question is what did Alex Kerfoot do to the referees to get called for so many penalties? There's a referee watching him like he's an ex-con on the ice, and he's got a shiv and he's going to do something all the time. Every single ticky-tack thing Alex Kerfoot does, whoop, there goes the arm, penalty. And I don't know what he did wrong, how he pissed off the referee union, but they're really not liking him right now.
Yeah, no, he can't seem to get any luck right now. Um,
In
yeah,
regards to moving Spez to the center, do you think that's something that could happen? Moving Jason to the third center role and giving him a little bit more responsibility, and then pushing Alex Kerfoot to the wing.
yeah, I could see it for the meantime. But what we were talking about last night between ourselves was where is Joe Thornton gonna slot in, and do you really are we gonna have both of them on the same line? And you got to make sure we got some speed going in there, right?
Yeah, one of
So
them is
long
going to
term,
be on the
no,
fourth
but
line.
short time, yes.
One of them is definitely going to be on the fourth line. And
And
it'll
where
be
do we
interesting.
go?
I know Joe Thornton did not sign here to play on the fourth line, but
No,
I just don't see how you push Spezza down there for a Thornton who is just coming back from a rib injury, and you need to work him back into the scheme of the game. And this would all be solved if Wayne Simmons wasn't playing so well, right? Wayne
no,
Simmons would be the guy that you would take a few minutes from and give those to Joe Thornton, and you put him where Simmons is currently playing. But Wayne Simmons is a beast. He's a beast for the Leafs if he's not fighting and scrapping in front of the net and people pushing guys out of the way and getting to those loose pucks. He's throwing his weight around. R.I.P. Hughes on that hit. That was something else. And then Jamie Benn's nose is so lucky that it's made of like Teflon, because Jordy Ben, not Jamie Benn. Jordy Ben's nose is made of Teflon because Wayne connected and he just slid right off the tip of his gigantic nose. Wayne Simmons is a nightmare to fight against, isn't he?
I know, but I love how at the end of the fight, after he's thrown so many and connected with so many, and those blocks, the blocks he was making, and they were just hilarious. He was just toying with them. Ben maybe got 3 in that connected, probably total. And still, Wade Simmons is like, good job. You could tell he meant it. He's like, good job. He's congratulating him and everything like that, right? Like, cause they both knew they had to fight after that hit, right? Like, so
It was a nice clean hit by Wayne Simmons, but I guess
yeah.
yeah, you're Jordy
But you
Ben.
gotta
You got to
step up
stand
and
up for
take
him.
care. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just the blocks you brought it up. I gotta talk. Man, that's like I've been looking at Twitter and I've been reading people's thoughts and on it, and I mean that's an MMA style situation. That's a dude who
It's like
spends time at an MMA gym, who legitimately knows how to fight. When a lot of times an NHL fight is just like a yard sale scramble, like throwing fists of fury with no real sort of game plan for it,
You
right?
take as many as you throw, basically.
Yeah, but what Wayne Simmons went out there and did, he's just like, no, man, I'm not going to eat these punches for no reason. I'm just going to throw up the 3 blocks, bam, 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 and then wide open. He switched hands after the blocks. The arm he was blocking with, he then dropped and threw one right into Jamie or Jordy Ben's face. Like it was, man, it was just a clinic, and Wayne Simmons does it every time. I don't know why anyone would want to drop the gloves at Wayne Simmons, and it's awesome that he's playing for the Leafs. There's a legitimate threat. You do anything, anything skeezy to this team, and you got to answer to Mr. Rock'em Sock'em Robots himself, Wayne Simmons, and it's probably not going to be fun for you.
Yeah, no, definitely not. So with Dermott out, who do you see playing tonight? If you or the
Playing
next
tomorrow night.
night?
I mean, I'd love to see Sandin get in there, but from what I'm hearing, they made some assurances to Lethinen, and he's got an out in his contract for sure, like every Russian does when they come over here.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get the playing time that he wants, if he doesn't get into so many games, then he's gone. So the question is do you give up on Lethinen? Is he not what you thought he was? And do you trade him to a team where he can be on the power play consistently? Because those roles are filled here, that's for sure. And if so, then you go with Rasmus Sandin. He was a first round draft pick not too long ago, albeit a late first round pick, but a first round pick nonetheless. He's 1 more year experienced, and he's just chomping at the bit to go. And he's not the offensive threat that Lethinen is, but he's just as dynamic as a player, as a defenseman, and can flash across the ice pretty quickly. Reminds me a lot of Morgan Riley. He really does. A young Morgan Riley, anyway. Same type of player as Morgan is. So yeah, for me, it's I would love to see Sandin in there. I've seen Lethinen, and as much as you always love more offense, there's no time on the power play for that guy, and he needs to be on the power play. And I'm missing my Rasmus Sandin. So yeah, it's Rasmus.
Yeah, I agree. Sandy needs to get in. They need to start you need to start getting him some playing time this year. He hasn't been gotten anything. Letnin, like I like the idea of suggesting of maybe trading Letnin if he's really not going to fit in right here. Get something for him before he can opt out of the contract as otherwise. So
Well, I mean, you'd be doing him a favor too if you traded him, right?
yeah,
Because you're not going to trade him to a team
he
that's not
opts
going to
out. He's
play him.
probably back in Europe. So
Yeah. So it would be doing him a favor, getting him to a team that could maybe give him some first power play minutes, even if they've got the spot and the time. Um, okay, so all this being said about the Leafs and how good they were last night, this was the Vancouver Canucks, and the question has to be asked: is there the same asterisk next to the Vancouver Canucks as there is net to the Ottawa Senators for when you beat them? Do those wins have to come with a little bit of, yeah, but it was the Canucks, or yeah, but it was the Senators? So all well and good, but are those supposed to be guaranteed wins?
no, I wouldn't say that about the Vancouver just yet. I wouldn't say that just yet.
I mean, they've been pretty horrible
Yeah, they
outside of
have.
playing against Ottawa.
They have, and yeah, I did mention that. They
So
but no, I wouldn't say just yet. But I could, I think we're also just light years ahead of them. I'm not expecting them to beat us, but I wouldn't say that. Like, you mean division wide or just for the Leafs?
division wide. I mean, like this is like when Montreal beats Vancouver, it's like, yeah, and I mean, it might be a little bit of a closer battle between Winnipeg and Calgary and Vancouver, but like when the elite teams play this team, it's got to be, well, you were supposed to get that one, or and I mean, like they play Vancouver 9 times. The Leafs should beat them 7 out of those 9
At
minimum,
least, yeah.
minimum, if not 8 or 9 out of 9, depending on how hot you're playing, right? So and who's in net. Speaking speaking of in net, uh, curiouser and curiouser is the fact that we haven't heard a word about Jack Campbell. He hasn't been around at all the practice facility, the playing on the ice. Not a single thing. And it makes my stomach turn a little bit that we haven't heard anything to do with him. And it makes me worry that this injury may end up being more long term. And if so, what are the Leafs going to do? Because you can't start Freddie all these games. You need a goaltender to put in there. And I'm sorry, I've said it time and time again. That goalie is not Hutchison.
Mm-mm. Nope, nope, not allowed. Jack Campbell, there's nothing come out at all. It's just other than he's out weeks, right?
Yeah.
That's really fearsome. Oh my god.
It's really disconcerting, man. Like we heard a while for Robertson, but we've heard since that he's on the ice. We've heard
Yeah.
about rehab and recovery, and Joe Thornton. It was weeks, but we've heard about his rehab and recovery and him being back on the ice. And it was the same sort of thing with Jack Campbell, except for it has been radio silence, and that tells me and maybe I end up biting the bullet on this one, and they announce something tomorrow about Jack Campbell being back at the practice facility. But I'm gonna go ahead and bite the bullet on this one and say that to me is a red flag waving high in the air with high winds blowing it every which way. Jack Campbell might be gone for a long term.
That is absolutely terrifying. I because like again, we have to figure out something. If he's gone long term, we'd have to figure something out better than Hutchinson. Like, unfortunately, what are your options?
I mean,
What
you've
are
got
your
Jeremy
options?
Wall on your taxi squad. He's not ready for an NHL job. And you lost Aaron Dell to the New Jersey Devils. There's not really going to be a goaltender who's going to hit the waivers that you could pick up and do very much with. But I mean, I think you have to think about a trade or a possible waiver pickup. At least you have to be looking every single day, opening the day. Whenever the waivers come out, you're checking the list for that goalie slot and see if you can pick someone up. Because yeah,
Yeah,
man, I don't know how the team can play with any sort of confidence in front of Hutchison.
I would get that taken care of now while Freddie's healthy, and you don't need to actually have to use the backup right now because you're gonna need to worry about uh quarantining if they do have to come from the states. And like you could put just Hutchison and let him sit on the bench, but like I wouldn't. I want to even get into the situation where we have to put him in a game.
Yeah,
And again, and but that's the thing too is with the other guys we have in the system that are developing still, they also I'm not. I would be a little feeling a
I
little
wouldn't be
weary if we had
confident
to put
putting
them in a
Jeremy
game.
Wall in the
Yeah,
in the game. No, there's a reason
no,
he's on the taxi squad.
Ian Scott. Um, mean either with him either because he's obviously still pretty young, right?
It's
He's
good that
got
the AHL season's starting up because then you get
yeah,
these guys in some games in the AHL, and then maybe they can show something where they prove that maybe they should be the backup for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
yep,
Yeah, it's really really good that we're going to get some AHL hockey and get Rasmus Sandin some minutes, get these guys some minutes, and get them moving, get their joints, like get them engaged in games. Not that they're not working out and doing practice, but you can only practice so much, right? You've got to have that outside competition to really get that fire lit and get that drive going. Speaking about lit fires, someone lit a fire underneath the Toronto Maple Leafs because for the first time in a long, long time, brother, they are the number one team in the entire NHL. That
last last week or so was the
no,
last
I
time.
just mean like before this season. And I never take standings into account
Yeah,
before 10 games are played.
yeah,
But we are over a fifth the way through the season now with 56 games. They've played 12 games, I believe, or 11. And Yeah, this team being tops in the NHL, and even if they inevitably drop out of the top slot in the NHL, they are still considered, have to be considered a top five team in the entire NHL. And going back to the 18 wheeler off a cliff days with Bozak, Van Riemsdyk, Phil Kessel, and that entire show that we ended up going to Ottawa to see. Yeah, we drove
yeah.
to Ottawa the year of the 18 wheeler off a cliff. That was not a fun final 18 games for us to watch. When we had the season finale tickets at Ottawa, and So yeah, laugh at us for that one. We drove all the
Spezza
way to
scored on us. I
yeah.
remember
It
that.
was it was not fun. But yeah, just to look back at those times and to look forward to now and where they're at, a top 5 team in the NHL. I mean, it just feels so good to be a Leaf fan. It's fun to watch the games, and even when they get down now, when they take a deficit in the game, you don't feel like you should turn the channel off after 2 periods. If the Leafs are down a goal or down 2 goals going into the third, you're watching that third period because you know that at any moment Toronto could score 3 in 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, I love that. I don't give up on a game until it's over now, and that's what's so fun about watching them. Their ability to come back in a game is just incredible. But that's because they've got so much firepower. Any line can score a goal. It's not like
Yeah,
I love it. But a lot of NHL teams are like that now too, because you just don't have the fourth lines where they're basically just there to check you and fight you and get off the ice like they used to, right? You're expected to actually have a little bit of speed and some offensive production from your fourth lines now, right?
yes, for sure. It's definitely a different game, and you're utilizing all of your forwards and all of your defensemen more frequently than you would be sitting people. You don't have any Colton Orrs or Fraser McLarens on the team anymore, where all they can do is change the game by throwing knuckles.
Literally.
You have to have some sort of offensive skill and speed in order to play in this NHL. So
I remember Fraser McLaren scoring a goal for the Leafs, and I think it was the only one he ever scored with them. And it was like, oh my God. It was like they won the Stanley Cup. It was just like, did that just happen?
it was probably a jam shot in front of the net too. It was probably
Yeah.
just like a melee in front of the net where he was slapping his stick. And anyway, he drove that one maybe through the back mesh. All right, so moving on. There were some rule changes in the NHL and a little bit of an aesthetic change. It was a little weird to see at first, but eventually, watching the game, it went away, and I just focused on the game. But due to some massive COVID issues in the NHL, shutting entire teams down, and sometimes in some cases, a good portion of divisions down, the NHL has removed the glass from behind the benches and put HEPA filters and air purifiers at the benches to increase airflow. And this is the most important rule change to me because it makes the referee's job so much harder, and it makes me wonder if maybe now we see a reduction in delay of game penalties and guys just shoot for the bench.
What do you mean by that? Sorry.
It's going to be harder to
Yeah.
dictate if it would go over the glass without glass, right?
Ah,
So
yeah.
so you take
Well,
advantage
you never
by
know. They might
making the
just shoot.
referee make the judgment call every single time, as opposed to being able to look at the glass and be like, oh yeah, that went over. Now you've got to make that judgment call, and unless you're really confident, I would assume there's going to be a reduction in those penalties.
Yeah, no, well, you don't see it go over that part of the glass as often as you would the other parts when it usually gets called. But yeah, no, I don't know how they're gonna handle that. They might just say, hey, if it goes over the boards, like control your shot and like you get the penalty. But who knows? Who knows how they're gonna handle that? Um,
It, it's
that's a
it
really good point, though. It's yeah, if they do have to judge that, what do they judge it off of? Do they judge it off of like because that glass is not as high as what it is the rest of the way around the rink? So
Yeah, it's a strange little quirk to them removing the glass, right? It's like it definitely does make the referee's job harder, and unless you're really confident in how you saw that puck, then you might not make that call.
what was the rule before they had glass behind there?
Well, when
Go to that.
it goes over the glass, it's a delay
There,
of
there
game.
wasn't always been glass behind the bench.
See, I didn't know
That,
that. I
that
don't know the history of the
yeah, like
game as
look
well.
at the Montreal Forum. There wasn't or anything.
Well,
Like,
there
and
wasn't
that's
a
like the
delay of game
90s.
penalty back then either, though.
When did that come in? I thought that would have been in by then,
That
but
came
no.
in the second lockout, I want to say. It might have been the '03
Second
lockout.
lockout?
It might have been
No.
the '03 lockout, but I doubt
That
it.
might make more sense. No, it was around before the second lockout.
Um, I think before, I think at one point it was a judgment call whether they meant to do it or they didn't, and then they started making it an automatic call after a couple of years where
Yeah.
it was you clear it and it goes over and you get the penalty. All right, well, speaking of, I guess I should get to the other two rule changes. Um, the dressing rooms extended to 2 rooms per team now, so
Yeah,
that
to
there's
be
6 feet
6 feet.
of
Yep.
distance between everybody or each individual player and person, and the restrictions on the amount of time they can spend at the facility. They're not allowed to be there more than an hour and 45 minutes before puck drop. And a lot of there, you would think that wouldn't bug some people, but a lot
Well,
of players really like to get into a mindset, and it
yeah.
takes more time than an hour 45. And guys like Wayne Simmons, they said they have to be there sometimes more than 3 hours before the game because they've got to get prepared. They've got to soak, and then they've got to stretch, and then you got to go to the bathroom, then you got to get dressed, and then you got to go out and you practice, and you come back, and maybe something's tight, you stretch again, and it's just there's so much to be done before the game that this is actually going to be something that does affect a lot of the players, right?
Yeah, now luckily they are making exceptions for players that need to receive certain treatments for injuries and stuff before the game, like getting taped up and or having to take a bath to deal with a muscle injury or something like that. So they do have exceptions for people who really need it. But yeah, no, there's it's a very superstitious game, and those guys, that'll throw a player right off if you mess up with his pregame routine. And yeah, like you said, a lot of players like to get there early, take their time, make sure they're fully focused on the game and not rushed, ready to go. And that could really mess with people. I would highly suggest maybe the hotels they're quarantining at have some sort of see if there's some way you can set up some sort of training facility there, like pregame facility maybe, that you can do some of those things. Like, no, obviously your arena, the stuff you would normally do that you can only do in arena, you can't do. But like if you like need a good soak, get ready, uh you can do that before you head over to the arena, and like
Yeah.
do it right before you go.
Well, the Maple Leafs introduced rapid testing yesterday for their players and their personnel. Something that the NHL isn't doing as a whole as of yet, but it's something that I could see happening where they do the rapid test, which they get the results back very quickly. And if you come back clean, then you're good to go in the building, right? It's a less accurate test, but it's a much quicker response. You can find out, and if someone comes back inconclusive, like it happened in the NFL, then you pull them as well, and you tell them you can't go in the building until you test negative. I mean, I can see your idea working, setting up a facility elsewhere, but then there's just going to be the competing theory of, oh, well, that's guys still congregating together. It doesn't matter if they're at the ACC, or sorry, the Scotiabank, or if they're at the Marriott, they're still together, right? Um,
Yeah, well, they don't necessarily have to congregate, but like I'm talking, like if you need to go and have a soak, you can individually go have a soak. Like, I don't know what they do, or maybe they could
yeah, I
set
don't
some.
think a bunch of guys are taking a hot tub together, but
I'll meet you down at the pool, boys.
Uh,
Yeah,
we should talk about the
pregame.
reason why these rule changes have been made, and it was a little bit of a drop ball by the NHL. The New Jersey Devils currently have 17 players and
So
personnel.
basically, the New Jersey Devils have COVID.
Yeah, the entire team basically has COVID, and it wasn't the case this just half a week ago or a week ago on Saturday, when they were playing Buffalo back to back. They had 2 positive tests. The game was allowed to go on. And now we have 17 positive on the New Jersey Devils, and there's no way in hell you're going to tell me that those guys weren't playing against the guys who were on the Sabres and that there wasn't any cross contamination, because now the Buffalo Sabres are having issues with COVID, and head coach Ralph Kruger is out, and he is very displeased with the fact that the games weren't just canceled, because now both teams have to have a delay until they can get cleared, and they're not the only ones. The Minnesota Wild and the Colorado Avalanche apparently are wrapped up in this as well. Colorado, the most recent ones to be down till at least February 11th. So Yeah, it's been quite the mess in the United States for COVID, and the NHL may have really dropped the ball in New Jersey.
Yeah, no, that was a really dumb decision by the league to let that go forward. Obviously, now two teams infected by the one situation. I was worried about the American teams, honestly, in general, before the season even began. Because, like, in the States, it's literally like they're handing out COVID like Oprah. Like, you get COVID, and you get COVID, and you get COVID, because nobody pays attention, really cares. And even with the players, like, even trying to follow protocol, they're just so much more uh likely to be exposed than the Canadian teams are
Well,
right
it's not
now.
just the players, right? They're going home to their wives, and they might have
Yeah,
kids, and so like the players could be doing everything right, but if mom goes to
white
the grocery
grocery
store
store. Yep.
and brings it home, and then she's laying next to dad, and then dad goes into the facility, and it's very very simple. It's not like they're going out to strip clubs a la James Harden and with the two middle fingers up in the air saying FTW. It's as innocent as a trip to the grocery store derailing a multi-million-dollar team from being able to play at all, and possibly derailing the ability for the NHL to get a complete 56 game season in for the entirety of the league. What's the likelihood, Mike, that we see some teams not even get to 56?
I see. Yeah, I was about to say I see teams just pulling out. And just calling it a year. Well, like especially if they have outbreaks like that and if they can't get them under control, because it seems like every day there's something happening down there.
It's
And
really difficult, man.
but now imagine this. That happens. They just nullify the American teams for the year.
Well,
And and then it's just a play down of the Canadian teams in the playoffs. That would
I
be funny.
I think that the more likely scenario is we hear a very familiar word get uttered, and that is BUBBLE, spells bubble. I think
Yep.
that it'll be a
Divisional
situation.
bubbles, divisional bubbles.
It'll be a situation where all the teams are going to have to congregate in in a specific area where the NHL can keep an eye on them and keep them under control, because you look back to the bubbles in Edmonton and Toronto, and 0.00% positivity cases,
Yep.
and that was in a much scarier time without vaccinations. When you
Yeah.
talk about handing COVID out like you're Oprah, I hope they're handing out the vaccine like they're Oprah over there in the States, because we're not getting it over here, but they're getting it as much as they can over in the States, and they need it more than us right now over here in Canada. So hopefully they're getting those vaccinations quick enough so that we can start vaccinating the athletes, because you damn sure well know that if a hockey player gets a vaccine before Grandma Joe or Grandma Jolene, then you're going to have an uproar. There's
Yeah.
no way a professional athlete should be getting vaccinated before a person who is has a high risk to be exposed to the virus, just because we want to talk about them and we want to watch them. It doesn't matter. There are more important things in the world.
Yeah, I know exactly. One thing I think that the US needs to stop doing is letting fans in. Like,
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
there's no need for it. Like, honestly, I do okay. Well, there is teams that do rely on their ticket sales and everything, but like, so I understand why they're doing it, but no, it's not worth the risk. You're not bringing in enough fans to really make much anyways. Why do it? I know the whole morale thing, but you know how much more of a risk that can happen, that can bring. Like, you just an average like arena attendant that you know is going to have to be back for the next game. That's how it could be transferred around, right?
Yeah,
And
on top
eventually
of
get
that,
you
you got to
played the
hire a
year you
cleaning crew
mentioned.
to come in and clean that stuff up, right? And
Yeah.
like COVID level cleaning crew.
Yeah.
So you might be bringing some money in, but you're
Not much.
spending more money because you have to have this cleaning crew come in and make it as clean as a damn hospital.
Yeah.
It's insane. Um, all right, so we got a little bit of tough news to talk about as sports fans, as guys who grew up watching TSN and watching these two yuck it up at the Sportsnet desk for man, 20 years, I want to say. It's been a long time. They left for Fox Sports 1 for a little bit, but Dan O'Toole not continuing with TSN, being let go by TSN Wednesday night after his final, or after recording SC with Jay and Dan. They let him know, and I mean, I understand this business. I mean, I go into it with open eyes. It's a contract related business, and with contracts, you can, boop, it's gone. As long as you have an out, you can, the contract's torn up, you're gone. I don't owe you anything than what the contract states, right? And so I get it, but it's a little bit underhanded for me not telling the guy until after he's done his last show. Like, I mean, you didn't afford him the opportunity to say goodbye to the thousands of people, and I'm being very, very conservative by saying thousands. The thousands of people who get used to watching him and get used to seeing him. But yeah, told after the episode that he was not going to be kept on at TSN, and his time there was indeed done. Yeah, sad to see Dan O'Toole go.
Yeah, no, it's very sad. It's gonna hit, it hits some nostalgia right there. But I love how he went out with some sense of humor. Like that tweet you sent me. Had I known last night was my final show, I would have tried a little harder. Who am I kidding? I probably wouldn't have. It was a wild ride. If you got our show, then you laughed along with us. Thank you. Peace and love, and let's raise a glass together once COVID is over. So he went out in good gracious, but yeah, no, it's very sad. It's gonna be a hard to really get used to that. And what's gonna happen with Jay and Dan? Like, is it just gonna be Jay? Is there gonna be a
It's
replacement,
J
or is
on
this show?
SC now. That's what it is. It's
That's
billed
all.
as J on SC, and it just goes to show the death of the highlight show, right? Like,
Yep.
gone are the days when you could just sit at a desk and read a prompter, and I would watch sports clips, and you make money on that. No, what they want now is they want analysts. They want Brian Burke. They want Elliot Friedman. They want Chris Johnston. They want Dave Poulin. They want these guys who know, not that Jay and Dan don't know what they're talking about, but they want specific people with specific knowledge to entice a specific crowd. Gone are the days of the long, broad spectrum. Let's try and bring in as many people with appealing to as many people as possible. No, they want the information that people are seeking so that they can keep their fans. And so I just think that this signals the impending doom of the highlight reel show, right? There'll always be a highlight package, but it'll never be what it once was when we were growing up. But we would just sit in front of the TV and watch, and it was a little bit of a comedy show mixed in with it. But yeah, sad to see it go. It'll be strange to see Jay out there on his own, but I'm sure that he's very capable.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna miss all the Gito Reda chirps too that Dan would throw out. But you
Lots
know
of
what?
fun chirps.
It's gonna be strange. It's gonna be not the same. I swear. They were a combo, and you know it's just gonna be a hard adjustment with him gone.
Yeah, it's gonna be strange for Jay, right? You got thinking about what he's going to do, and you have to be able to pivot on your feet, and keep going and keep your momentum. And so he will do his best, but yeah, definitely feel for both of them, but more for Dan not being kept on there. And good luck in all of your future endeavors. And hopefully we see you again in the near future working somewhere in sports media. I'm sure we will. All right, moving on to the NBA. Raptors play the Brooklyn Nets tonight, and it is billed as a revenge game, basically. But before we get into all of that, there was quite a Raptors performance that was put on this past week, a couple days ago. The day of the show, day on Tuesday evening, um, we said that there wasn't much to watch, but the Raptors were going to be there to help entertain us going into the long wait for the Maple Leafs. And boy, oh boy, did Fred VanVleet entertain Toronto from halfway across the continent. From another side of the continent, it felt like It felt like he was right there with us. 54 points, becoming the franchise leader in points in a single game. And it didn't feel forced, not for a second. 11 made 3-pointers, and he was just he was NBA Jam on fire the whole game.
Yeah, no, it was a historic night. That was awesome to see. And yeah, like you were saying, it wasn't pressured at all. It wasn't they weren't completely relying on him. He just balled out and was dropping. And but it's like you have that DeMar and Terrence Ross when they had their 50-point games. That's what kept them in the game or won them the game. They were reliant on those 50 points. And here we was just going with the flow, and everybody was able to produce enough that it wasn't just him. So
Yeah, and that's the point I want to make. It that's what makes it the most impressive performance. Not just points, and you would assume that being the points leader in the franchise in a single game would mean you're very impressed. And I'm not taking anything away from DeMar DeRozan's 52 and from Terrence Ross's 51. I'm not taking anything away from Vince Carter, but this was the most impressive performance ever by a Raptor in a single game for me, simply because they didn't need him to score like that. He didn't force it. It wasn't in an ISO game. Norm had 23. Kyle had a triple double. Siakam had 12 points, 8 boards, or 5 boards, eight assists. And it was just, everything was flowing. Everything was working as it should. And it gave you a sense of calm. And I understand this is against Orlando. It's not the most stout defensive team, but you're supposed to do that to those teams. You're supposed, if you are a good franchise, you're supposed to take advantage of those situations and take advantage the Raptors did. It was quite an impressive performance by Fred VanVleet, and it's something that Raptors fans will live off of. But what stood true the most to me was in his interviews the day after. He was asked how it felt or how amazing it felt and everything. And his response was this: yeah, it was great and all. It was amazing, but I've won a championship.
that's probably bittersweet to be able to
Right?
say.
But but right there, but I've won a championship. He knows what the highest of the high feels like. And he's letting people know that, yeah, that was great. That was wicked. That's going to go down as a career highlight, but not the career highlight. The career highlight for me is in Golden State, and it's the iconic picture. It's Fred VanVleet, and he is screaming at the top of his lungs. His mouth is wide open. He's walking back. He's amped up. It was after making a three, and just sealing the deal. There's a reason this guy got an MVP vote in the NBA Finals. Obviously, we know Kawhi won it, but somebody voted for Fred VanVleet to be the MVP of that series because of the ability or what he was able to do to push that series in favor of Toronto. And speaking of that series, I said this was billed as a revenge game, and it's billed as a revenge game tonight because in that series, Kevin Durant tore his Achilles tendon and went down. And when that happened, I was watching the game, and you heard an ovation go off when that happened, when Kevin Durant went down. And a lot of people said that was dirty pool by Raptors fans. It showed a poor fan base because they were cheering for an injury. But if we just break down that point before we get into this revenge game, what happened on that play was, one, Kevin Durant had the ball. Kevin Durant was unreal in that first quarter. So you were expecting that ball to go in the net somehow. And then Ibaka cuts up on him, and it looked like Ibaka stole the ball, knocked the ball out of his hands, and they went down and scored. And in actuality, what happened was Kevin Durant pivoted, tore his Achilles, dropped the ball, and went down. So to the fans, initially, that looks like Ibaka got a turnover on the guy that you know is the most dangerous on the court. Of course, you're going to cheer that. It was 3 stages. I've heard it described in 3 stages. It was the cheer, the silence, and like, and then the clap off for him when he was carried off. Everyone in the building clapped for him because they were acknowledging, good, you're getting up. Okay, it sucks that you're gone. You're a great player. This is us respecting you. It's not clapping for you leaving the game. So yeah, I think the disrespect is a little bit overstated, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make. Not that they're even in Toronto to play, but Kevin Durant is petty as all hell. This is a dude who has burner Twitter accounts so that he can go at dudes like you and me when he doesn't like what we say. So he's going to take it however he wants to take it, and this is most definitely a revenge game for Kevin Durant.
Yeah, that was just disgusting injury. Like that, I'm not surprised that everybody would try and show some respect after that and him being able to get up. The he's gonna be out there trying to get something back on us. He wants to show like, hey, he's gonna go out there and make a statement. Hey, I'm back. I'm back.
He's
And
going to
'cause
go out there
that's
and
where
make
it
the
happened.
statement.
It's not in Toronto, but it's that's where it happened against the Raptors. So
Yeah, he's going to go out there and make the statement, I think, or the statement he wants to make is you guys wouldn't have won that if I didn't get hurt. That's the statement he wants to make tonight. Right. So, and like I said, Ben, he's petty as all hell. He will take every last bit of momentum, energy he can gain. He might watch the video of him tearing his Achilles over and over again, watching the fans cheer, big quotations, for his injury, just to get his anger up. I expect a lot out of Kevin Durant tonight. I would definitely look out for that three-headed monster of Harden, Irving, and Durant tonight if you're the Raptors. And I mean, the Raptors are good defensively, but they're going to have to play 100% on top of their defensive game if they're going to stop all three of these guys. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, unfortunately, I do not see the Raptors winning this game. Like I said, unless they play an unreal defensive game, I just think Kevin Durant is going to do everything in his humanly possible for him to do, inhumanly possible even for the stuff that he can do, to take over this game and take the W away from the Raptors and put a little bit into the face of the Raptors fans. It's going to be interesting. It's definitely something to watch on an off night for the Leafs. And yeah, so Raptors versus Nets revenge game for Kevin Durant. It'll be good to see if the Raptors can shut down that three-headed monster in Brooklyn. All right, we got one more thing to talk about before we get out of here, and it's a pretty big topic. It's a pretty big game. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's called the Super Bowl, and Tom Brady is in it for the 10th time in 20 years, which is disgusting, by the way. That's 50% of his entire career has been spent playing in the championship game. Unheard of.
Do you want to reword that? That's not so you're saying he's only had played 20 games?
Well, no, 50% of his career he's played in the championship
on a
game.
Championship team.
Not on a championship team, in the game. So
50% of his career has been spent playing only 10 games.
No. 50% of his career has been spent playing in the championship game, which means he went through the whole season and made it to the championship game.
So
50% of his career.
Team, played on a championship. He
wasn't playing it doesn't mean that he won the championship because he's only won 6. Right? Only won 6. going for number 7. It may have been a little bit of a confusing statement, but the point of the matter is that he's half of the years he's played in the NFL, he's ended up in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Which is just unheard of. I don't think it'll ever happen again. I mean, maybe I'm spitting in the face of Patrick Mahomes. I don't view it that way. I just think that what Tom Brady has done is phenomenal and is to be unrepeated. And he's going for number 7. And I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, but there's only a 3-point spread in this one. Kansas City only favored by 3. And that to me says that the odds makers know better than to set a high spread against a man called Tom Brady.
Yeah, no, just because he'll keep the game close even if they don't win. He'll keep it close. He's that smart. Um,
He's the greatest quarterback on the planet to ever play the game for a reason. He's the best game manager to ever play that position. He knows how to get the most out of every single position that he has, and he's made a career out of throwing to small guys. So it makes no it doesn't surprise me that that Scotty Miller has been a target for him in Tampa Bay. But speaking about the Super Bowl and leading up to it, the boys in Kansas decided they were going to have a barber come in and cut their hair so they looked all nice and fresh and neat and clean for the Super Bowl game. And that's all well and good, you know. But you think you'd think that if you're going to have a barber come in as the team organizer, right? The players go and they ask the trainer or whatever, we'd like to have a barber come in. So someone hires the barber and does the whole process. You'd think that you would make sure that that barber has tested negative for COVID-19 before stepping a single toe into your facility. But nuh-uh, that's not how it went down, Mike. That's not how it went down. They got this guy in the building. He's cutting hairs. He's 5 players deep. The next man up is Patty Mahomes. He's halfway through a haircut, and the trainers run in and tell him he's got to leave because he tested positive for COVID. So explain to me how you don't have this test before he steps into the facility.
I I have no clue. I don't know how you could even explain yourself after that. Like if this affects them in the Super Bowl, like I don't know if there's been any word on the 5 players that were strictly exposed, but there's a lot more to worry about than just that. He was in the facility, and the like if that ends up affecting this team in the Super Bowl, it's on them. They let him in. It's on them. They let him in. It's nobody but their own fault by doing
Yeah, it's
that.
definitely not the barber's fault.
It wasn't the barber's fault for sure. Because I bet you if they told him, okay, well you can't go in until, he would have said no worries and waited.
Yeah, and I feel bad for that barber because if something were to happen,
The fans will be
the
after him.
fans are going to crucify this guy.
No, if you sit there and use some common sense and think about it, it's all on the Chiefs. That was an absolute doughhead move by the Chiefs management at that point.
Whoever made that decision, and I mean, I guarantee, I can't guarantee it, but you gotta assume that we're gonna hear someone was fired for that. No matter what happens, the Chiefs could win the Super Bowl, and someone's getting fired for that. I mean,
is there any word on who the 5 players
no,
that got it?
there's no word on who it was that the hairs were cut, but the masks were on at all times apparently. So Barber had a mask on, the player had a mask on. So hopefully that provided enough protection for the players from the barber being positive COVID, and hopefully nothing was transferred. But I did mention that he was halfway through a haircut. So there's a dude on the team who has half a haircut, or the trainer had to come in and finish this dude's haircut. If that's you, what are you saying if you got half a head of hair?
Well, I'd be straight pissed off. But now I'm excited to see the player intros at the beginning of the game on Super Bowl. I hope to God they recorded that beforehand, because oh man, you just see one guy with like half a fro going, and he's just sitting there like completely mad, like can't do anything about it. Just do it yourself and just go.
That's it, right? It's
It's
either there's going to be someone with half a head of hair, or you look for the dude with the worst haircut ever, right? And you're the one. You're the one who had to have the trainer take the clippers to. You got one half that's all nice and tapered and styled, and the other half just looks like your 2-year-old did it, right? Like there's going to be one guy with a bad haircut. And it's funny because even a guy on the team, Tyreek Hill, one of the star players, he was asked about it, and he's like, "Nah, man, no way in hell am I sitting there with half a head of hair. I don't care. That man is finishing my hair." That was Tyreek Hill. He's like, "That man is not allowed to leave until this is all cleaned up. That's it." So
Good to
yeah,
know
that's
he's got his priorities straight.
yeah. I see that now that may have been a little bit of a overstatement by Tyreek. And
Yeah. Give me COVID. Give me COVID. Give me
this
COVID. I
hair's
don't
got to be
care. This
fleek.
has to
It's got to
be.
be fantastic.
Yeah, no, I'm not leaving this place unless I'm looking on at my best, and I don't care if I have to risk my life. Let's give her. It's not like a pro athlete like him wouldn't probably have that many issues, but still, you never know.
Man, this dude's going home and calling up his another barber to come to his house. If it was Tyreek Hill, he leaves the facility with half a head of hair. He's calling someone else up to come to his house and finish the job. So there's no way a dude at Tyreek Hill standards is going to show up with half a head of hair.
He's going home with a skull cap that he'd wear under his helmet or something.
Yeah. All right. So I started
See him
saying
going
the
with a big
Chiefs.
trucker hat. That'd be funny. Sorry.
No, it's okay. The Chiefs are a 3-point favorite, and it's the time of the show when I'm supposed to give you my picks. And man, my heart says something, and then my head says something different. And a lot of the times when I'm fighting with myself, I choose the wrong answer. I gotta go with my heart on this one, man.
Wait. This is big news, so I gotta get the drum roll going.
I'm going Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to beat the Kansas City Chiefs by 7. It's going to be a high scoring game. It's going to be something like 40 to 33, something insane. Both teams are going to go off. But yeah, I got to go with my boy Tom Brady. I've been on the Tom Brady hate train all year because I couldn't swallow the thought of seeing him and Gronkowski reunite in these balmy temperatures in Tampa Bay with all these weapons that the Buccaneers have and do what they've done. But it's number 7. It's the 7th ring. It's the GOAT. It's the man. And it's the GOAT versus the Billy Goat, in my opinion, because Patrick Mahomes has quite the way to go. But I'm going to go with Tom Brady on this one. Like I said, yeah, Tom Brady and the New England. I almost said New England there. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win the Super Bowl. And there you go, Dan. You got your Super Bowl. My buddy Dan McGrath, a huge Tampa Bay Bucks fan, a huge Tom Brady hater his whole life. He has done nothing but spew vitriol and hate at me for the New England Patriots and Tom Brady. And to watch him cheer for Brady all year has been just solid gold. So I'll take that.
I just love to see that nothing's changed with you, even when you didn't want it to.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. There are some interesting Super Bowl prop bets. Before I get into that, I do have an MVP pick, and it's a long shot pick. So I have the Bucks winning the Super Bowl, and the MVP comes from the Super Bowl winning team. It's going to be a high scoring game, in my opinion. And it's not going to be Tom Brady, I don't think, that's going to get the MVP of this. I'm picking Chris Godwin to win the MVP of the Super Bowl. I think that Brady's going to connect with him with a couple of deep shots, and he's going to make some impressive moves, and he's going to get at least 2, maybe 3 scores. He's a dynamic guy. There's him and there's Mike Evans. Mike Evans is 23-1. Godwin is paying 29-1 to win the MVP. This is how much the quarterbacks are favored to win the MVP, but I'm not going with an easy pick. I'm going with a non-quarterback to win the MVP. Chris Godwin, 29-1 on sportsinteraction.com or .com. If you want to follow these picks, you can get these odds at Sports Interaction. And then in regards to prop bets, there's an interesting one that says there will be a field goal every quarter in the game, which means a field goal in the first by either team, second by either team, and in the third and in the fourth by either team. It pays 4.5-1. I think that's a decent one you could probably throw some money on.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. It doesn't matter what it doesn't like. Not one team has to have four.
No,
It could be either
it's
team.
just one each quarter by either team. So I think that's a decent one. And then there's another intriguing prop that a team will score in the final 2 minutes of our first half of the game. And seeing as who the two teams are, Patty Mahomes and Tom Brady, I just Tom Brady is the king of the double dip. You know, he's the guy that really him and Bill Belichick are the guys that really made deferring the coin toss and taking the ball down in the final 2 minutes of the second quarter, and then getting the ball to start the third quarter. They're the ones who made that famous over the last 20 years. So I can't believe that it's not going to happen in the Super Bowl. So yeah, throw a couple. And I mean, it's only paying 1.25 to 1. So I think that the books think that this is going to happen as well. It's pretty much guaranteed money, in my opinion. 1.25 to 1. You make a quarter for every dollar you bet. So yeah, throw a couple shekels down on that and make some coin back. And then finally, my third and final prop bet that I have for the Super Bowl is the longest touchdown scored will be over 46 and a half yards. And it doesn't say the longest touchdown pass. It's just the longest touchdown scored in the game by either team will be 46 and a half yards, or more than 46 and a half yards, so 47 yards. And I think with the ability of Patty Mahomes to throw deep, the ability of Tom Brady to throw deep, and the ability of Le'Veon Bell, Edwards-Helaire, Leonard Fournette, and Ronald Jones, the two running backs for each side, to be able to break off big runs, I think that you can get a 47-yard touchdown. No problem. Paying 1.83 to 1, 83 cents to every dollar you bet, you win 83 cents. So, yeah, those are my prop bets for the Super Bowl. And they're some of the least crazy ones, Mike. One of the craziest ones I saw was you can bet on whether or not the singer of the national anthem is going to come out in a jean jacket, a leather jacket, or no jacket.
I'm gonna go with this year's being the weekend. I'm gonna go with the leather
Oh no,
jacket.
he's the
Most likely.
halftime show.
The halftime
He's the
show.
halftime show. The opening is a country singer.
I don't care. I won't be watching it.
It's just
Well,
singing the national anthem.
one thing I will make a bet on is I'm going with blue.
Blue Gatorade. Blue Gatorade. Yeah, you could also bet on what color Gatorade the winning team will pour over the coach. Lots of times they have different colors on the bench for different tastes. Sometimes it's clear. Sometimes it's orange, red, or blue.
Sometimes it's not Gatorade at all.
Yeah, sometimes it's water. Clear. They say clear Gatorade, but I mean, like, I think that's water. The last year for the Chiefs, they used the orange Gatorade over Andy Reid, so that's the favorite this year. Is paying plus 2.5. But yeah, blue should be interesting. I think it'll be red if it's the Bucks. I got a feeling, that I understand both teams. That's fun. That's another thing, by the way. First time in Super Bowl history that both teams playing each other, same primary color. Chiefs red is Buccaneers red, right down to the color code.
Really?
Exact same. So
They both have yellow in their uniforms too.
So yeah, it'll be the first time that has ever happened. A lot of firsts going to happen possibly in this game.
There was red and white last year, but it's not the same red, right?
No, not the same. No. Well, the Chiefs are the same, but because the Chiefs are back in it, so they're still the same color scheme, but no, not on the other side of the ball. Yeah, so that's all we have this episode of the Sports Lodge. When we're back next week, we'll know who the Super Bowl champion was. If it is Tom Brady and it's number 7, we'll talk about what that means for his career. If it changes anything, if it doesn't change anything, because I really don't think it changes anything. I think he's the GOAT anyway. You only just further solidify the argument. But the interesting conversation we'll have is who was the better GOAT, Jordan or Brady? That's all we got for this week, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, comment. Let us know what you want to hear. We'll be back on Tuesday. Thanks for listening. We're out of here. Peace.
Take care, everybody.